Why do I always end up looking top heavy when I wear blazers? Could be a couple of things. It can be that you're buying blazers that are just too bulky or just don't quite fit you well enough, so they're looking really big and bulky, or it could be the length. You need to take a look at your leg to torso ratio. If you have a longer torso, you can get away with a standard length blazer or a cropped blazer. If you have a shorter torso, you should stay away from cropped. You can get away with standard to long length blazers. If you have an average torso to leg proportion, you're pretty well balanced there, you can kind of play around. If you get a longer, like boyfriend style blazer that comes past your hip line, then it's going to elongate your torso and put more visual weight up top. If you buy a cropped one, it's going to leave a little bit more visual weight to the bottom, and it's going to do a little bit of minimizing to the top. You can even get really, really cropped if you want. And if you buy a standard that kind of matches the length of your torso pretty nicely, then you're not disrupting your balance at all. So really it comes down to understanding whether your torso is a little bit on the short side, long side, or pretty average. Next comes the fit. Whatever the widest part of your torso is what's going to control what size blazer you buy. If you're widest at the hip, then sometimes buying something that stops just above the hip can allow you to buy a smaller sized blazer that won't overwhelm your upper body, but it will accentuate the lower body. And sometimes if you're widest at the hip, that's not what you want. You want to draw the eye up. So the solution is wear darker trousers or skirt that doesn't have a lot of volume. Now, I'm not saying necessarily buy skin tight, super skinny jeans or something like that. Just something that's slim fit, straight leg, doesn't have too much volume, or at least is slimmer fit around the hips and upper thigh. Don't buy something with a lot of frump and pleats around the waist if you carry weight in your hips and you're buying a blazer that stops above that widest point on you. This will allow you to divert the eye up to a blazer that has some degree of interest, like color, pattern, texture, even embellishments around the lapels, whatever it is. Make the blazer the focal point and you can still achieve balance. Another approach, if you're widest at your hips, sort of like a pear shape, if you identify that as your widest point of your torso is your hip area. Another approach you can take is to buy a blazer that will skim over your hips and land or end just below your hips, around the upper thigh area. This will create a nice blending of those wider hips. Hillary Clinton kind of has this body type where she's a little bit wider, lower on her torso and in her hip area. And she often opted for the longer blazers. And these were a great option for her so long as it fit across the shoulders and reined in at the waist. So in that case, buying off the rack, you might need to take it to a tailor to make sure it still fits your shoulders and it fits your waist nicely, but can skim over your hips. It just takes that extra step of going to get it tailored for you and custom fit. If you're somebody who carries more weight in your stomach area, so maybe you're a little bit apple-shaped or you're just lacking a well-defined waist for whatever reason, maybe you're just kind of rectangular shaped, then there's a chance that the blazer will have far too much room up here in the shoulder line. And that the only solution is to go and get it tailored. Alternatively, so long as you have the flexibility with your vertical proportions, you can get away with a longer, more boyfriend style blazer that will give that flexibility to your torso. It's going to be a slightly longer cut and a slightly bigger, bulkier cut, but it looks intentional. If it looks on purpose, then you can get away with it. And those boyfriend style blazers look on purpose. If you're somebody who carries your weight up here, up higher, like you're bustier, or maybe your shoulders are your broadest point, then buying a blazer that has a lapel that comes lower, that has like a deeper, wider, longer V-neck, that can be a great option because it provides a little bit of extra flexibility to the chest area, and you won't have to go out and buy a blazer that's bigger just to fit this area because it's cut to where that area doesn't necessarily impact the fit of the whole blazer. Another element to blazers looking a little too top heavy on people is you're not pairing it with the right bottoms. Because blazers are usually a little bit more of a statement piece and they carry a little bit more visual weight, assuming you have the right fit and the right proportion and all of that is good, then it could just be that you're pairing it up with too skinny of jeans or trousers. Try something with a little bit more relaxed fit or even wide leg, depending on the aesthetic you're going for. But wide leg can get really tricky with blazers. I prefer straight leg with blazers or a skirt of some sort. I feel like that's the easiest way to wear a blazer, or jeans, straight leg jeans. But be careful of what color trousers or jeans you choose. If you're feeling a little too top heavy and you're wearing darker trousers, try switching to a lighter trouser because they will carry a little bit more visual weight. The darker the color, the more slimming it is. So try swapping it out for a bright color or just a lighter wash of jean, and it might turn the whole thing around because you're adding a little bit of visual weight to your trousers, to your legs, to your jeans, whatever it is that you're wearing, and that will help bring more balance to that blazer. And likewise, you can try a darker shade of blazer. A darker blazer will carry a little bit less visual weight than a lighter or patterned blazer or a bright color blazer. Same goes for texture. If you have texture in your blazer versus in your trousers, the eye is going to read that as more weight. So be conscious of where you're putting the visual weight by way of color, texture, and embellishment. If you're feeling top heavy in a blazer, try reducing the visual weight of the blazer by moving it to a darker color, less texture, less embellishment, something of that nature. Try adding visual weight to the legs via a lighter color, more texture, or more embellishment. But say you have a blazer and it just feels top heavy every time you wear it and it's just not working. Try switching up how you're wearing it and how you're styling it. For example, if you're wearing the blazer closed and everything underneath is kind of monochrome and simple, try swapping it out to wear a belt or something like that. Because even if you don't have a super well-defined waist, when you have a belt peeking through and your blazer's sitting right here, like this is an example of what I'm talking about, it gives the illusion that you have a more well-defined waist inside that blazer, kind of hidden away. So even if you're somebody who wouldn't otherwise do a shirt tucked in with a belt going on because you would feel that it draws the eye to the waist that maybe isn't as well-defined as you want it to be, you can get away with it with a blazer because it has that illusion effect of making it look like you have a well-defined waist beneath. And this can work with some cardigans, but cardigans are usually softer and flimsier. It's best with blazers and like jackets. So switching to something like that can sometimes help to eliminate that top heavy effect, because a big heavy blazer that's kind of laying almost closed or closed all the time can leave you feeling top heavy. Even if it doesn't look top heavy to other people, it can leave you feeling a little top heavy. So opening it up a little bit and changing the way it looks by drawing the eye up higher to the waistband and a belt can work nicely some of the time. It just depends on the style. Also be mindful underneath, sometimes switching from tucked in to untucked or a jumper underneath versus a shirt. All of those things make a difference. Typically, you wouldn't want to do an untucked shirt, but there's instances where maybe you're wearing a jumper where you might have a French tuck or it untucked. Some instances, it's not as easy to wear in that way, but things like this are going to be great options to try. If you haven't tried styling your blazer in these ways, I would highly suggest it. Lastly, if you have a blazer that is a little too big for you, maybe it's a little too roomy, an easy fix is to just get a button and place it where you need the blazer to close. And then it kind of becomes this oversized wrap blazer that looks intentional. It looks oversized on purpose when you do that. And sewing on a button is a pretty easy task, and most people can figure out how to do it even if they're not good at sewing or crafty at all. Sewing on a single button is something that I'm sure you can handle. So give those a try. I hope that helps. Thank you so much for your question, and I will see you next time, everybody. Bye.